this is actually my first role out of uni, and before then I only had a year's experience during my placement, but that wasn't in SaaS, that was in marketing and design, so it was very, very different. But actually then I knew instantly that I wanted to be in sales, because I really enjoyed building relationships, not just with prospects, but also internally. Which actually is what I'm talking about today, leveraging all of your internal resources and stakeholders. And I think there's 3 key reasons really why it's important to leverage these, not only to enhance your knowledge of your product or service, also to significantly increase your pipeline generation, but also develop your relationships internally to hopefully get quicker growth. So firstly, as you're probably aware, in order to be a really great SDR, it's really important to understand your product, not just the tools and the features that the product has, but also the benefits and the value that it can bring to organizations that use it. So I actually think it's important not just to use people within sales, but other departments as well, especially customer success. But I'll talk about them afterwards. So I found it really invaluable actually to speak with account executives, to spend more time with them and understand bit by bit and in more detail about our product that we have, and that just means that I understand more than what a customer meeting would be, and this gave me really in-depth understanding of our solution. But then I found it even more helpful to actually repeat it back to a different AE. So then I really understand our value proposition, but also getting feedback so I can develop more. And I actually found that this increased my conversion rate from intro call to demo, which is something that we're trying to focus on a lot more recently. And then with our kind of customer success part, I thought it was really insightful to actually sit with them and understand the process after the company has bought Peakon, because obviously we're just before, but I actually think it's helpful to know, like, what does the implementation look like? How easy is it to integrate? What success have they seen? The success stories, but also the ROI and what the benefit actually is to the customers. Our CRO, Neil Ryland, always says there's 2 S's in SaaS. Never underestimate how important service is to people. And just being able to understand that onboarding process and being able to articulate it more clearly, I think that's definitely helped me with also my conversion rates too. And then secondly, with the increasing pipeline, I know we've all spoken about this today, so I've definitely found it a lot more challenging in 2020 to outbound. So it's been really important for me to kind of leverage everything I have, and it's been increasingly important to be more creative. So I've actually found working with C-suite and founders to do exec emails really actually has been successful. So I wanted to share some examples with you guys that's worked well for me. So there's 2 key reasons why I would typically use someone within our C-suite. The first one is if I've tried every angle and I just can't get anywhere else. Or the second one, if I think that there's a particular prospect who I think would actually find it useful to hear from one of our leaders. So an example of that is Peakon's ideal target profile, as Elaine said, is more towards HR. So over the pandemic, when organizations started returning to work, I would send an email from our HR leader to their HR leader, not to just discuss kind of like the support that Peakon can bring, but also for them to actually share best practices, because they're in the same field and probably having the same struggles. And I saw this approach worked really nicely because it wasn't just a sales pitch, it was also that value added piece as well. So then the other angle is if I've literally tried everything and I can't get a meeting, but there's a really good reason why. So I know that they're reviewing providers, or I've seen something in the news I genuinely think Peakon could support them with, or there's a good use case because a similar organization are using Peakon. I'll use that information and then send an email from our C-suite to their C-suite. The structure I think is best to follow is, or that's been working well for me, is just an intro to the C-suite, intro to Peakon, why they're particularly reaching out, the benefit Peakon can bring, and kind of the value to them. I always think it's really important to hone in on the value, because they're not going to buy Peakon for the features, they're going to buy Peakon that the features are bringing like the outcome. So I definitely recommend kind of like focusing on that. And obviously then if you're asking founders, C-suite, CEO to be doing this for you, they are going to be incredibly busy. So I found it really important to be as straightforward for them as possible. So I try and give them as much information as I can with the email, the company, the name, the role, context, also their LinkedIn page in case they wanted to do a little bit of research as well. And I found sometimes it's just a C-suite email that the prospect needs to look into the provider to see what we can give them. And our EA, Laura, shout out to Laura, she's been an absolute legend in this. She's helped us send them out. So I would definitely recommend trying to leverage your EA to help you make it as simple as possible for your C-suite. And then lastly, developing your relationships. I just think it's so key. An annoying personality trait of mine, I like to be liked by everyone, but I actually think it's been positive for me throughout my time here. I do think people underestimate just how important it is for you to have internal relationships, especially within your department. With AEs, it's not just for the knowledge, but realistically, they are going to be your best friend when promotion opportunities come up. And this is something that I think can be equally beneficial. So, I mean, we all know account executives want the best ops and only the best ops. Otherwise, but if you are known as the SDR who gives the most well-qualified ops, then they are going to want to work with you more, and hopefully they'll give you more learning opportunities, which I've definitely found. But I also think that something key is to, really spend a lot of time on that handover. So what are the challenges that you found in that organization? What are the risks that perhaps might inhibit them from selling? Who are the key stakeholders, and what are their key motivators? But I also think it's important for you to be transparent. And for me, I found it successful for me to be extremely transparent with the AE. And I think it's definitely built trust when I've said, look, I've actually missed this with my qualification. I think it might be beneficial if you ask this question, because I didn't dig deep enough. And I definitely think that's increased my relationship for sure. And I also know that our job is just to get the meeting, pass it to the AE, then they sell it. But I've had loads of success in increasing my relationship when I've gone a bit above and beyond my role and kind of been more involved in the process after the demo. So sometimes I'll call a prospect if an AE has been ghosted and not spoken to, just to help pick up the conversations again. Or I'll try and get a meeting with a different stakeholder to help with the selling, or just admin in general, because also people hate admin. I do think every little helps with things like this. And it definitely gives exposure as well. I know eventually when I get into the AE role, I've definitely had so much exposure from what it looks like after my role. And I think that you will be top of mind with the AE because, when hopefully there is a position to move up in, they won't just be rooting for you, but they'll actually be helping you get there because you've done everything you can to help them in the past. Just a last piece, I think, as we all know, all of our internal stakeholders are they have more information in their field than we do. So I've definitely noticed that when I've been trying to get information from other departments, it's not only helped me grow in my SDR career, but also in the organization. And it's definitely increased my personal brand there too. So would definitely recommend that. But yeah, I hope that it's kind of given you a better insight into why I think it's so important to leverage internal stakeholders.